Advertising industry is one of the largest advertising markets in Africa, contributing massively to the country's economic growth and development by creating jobs and investment through international affiliations with global advertising agencies and companies. Taking into consideration the rate at which advertising and marketing is booming and gaining more importance in the Nigerian economy, it is expected that a positive change and rebranding, which are technologically compliant, should occur in order to give room for growth and greater results. Against this backdrop, the Media Independent Practitioners Association of Nigeria, MIPAN, has been at the forefront of improving the advertising industry in Nigeria to thrive and grow to the level of improvement and commercial stability through the promotion and advancement of knowledge of media independent practitioners in the field of advertising, media and marketing communications. MIPAN was created to develop and improve advertising and marketing media services in Nigeria. The association aims to maintain the highest standards of professional conduct, etiquette and discipline with a view to attaining a standard comparable to anyone in the world. I introduced him earlier. He's the president of the Media Independent Practitioners Association of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Adelusi. Good afternoon, Mr. Adelusi.
Good afternoon, Tolu. Thank you.
It's really good to see you again.
Yeah, pleasure is mine.
Yes, I've already talked about some things that MIPAN does, actually in my intro, but tell us what's been happening and what you've been doing, particularly on behalf of your members and all of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome to be here. For us at MIPAN, our vision has remained the same. For us, it's really around growth and development of the Nigerian advertising, media advertising industry. MIPAN plays a very key role in driving that. And so what we do is ensuring we work with the regulator, our regulator being APCON, the Advertising Practitioners Association, Council of Nigeria. APCON being our primary regulator, working with them to ensure that we've got the right standards, the right reviews of the laws and the guidelines for the advertising practice in Nigeria on one part, and also collaborating with all the other key stakeholders in the marketing communications industry, primarily the advertisers who actually put their investment on the ground, and also all the key agency services, including the Broadcasting Association, Organization of Nigeria, BON, the AAAN, the Advertising Association, the Out-of-Home Association, XMAN, the Experiential Marketing Agency, and of course ourselves as MIPAN, the Media Independent Practitioners Association of Nigeria. So it's working with all these 6 or 7 stakeholders, including the regulators, to make sure that coming out of the pandemic, and even prior to the pandemic, we need to make sure that the entire industry, our laws, our standards, we're raising the game in line with international best practice, and also ensuring the capability development of our people. Of course, the entire industry is growing, and that growth is driven by digital, and so much is happening in that space as well. So ensuring that we have the right tools and technology, and we develop the right capability among our people to move the entire industry forward.
Now, what a good way to start the conversation. Now, following what happened in 2020, we all know, you've even touched on it, COVID and all of that. How are your members on? How has it been for them, and how are they faring at the moment?
I think we can say, having survived the worst part, hopefully the worst part of the pandemic. It's a huge rebound. I think we're at a good point now compared to same period last year. And then looking ahead and looking at the numbers and the projections, there is increase in level of activities from the advertisers' side. And also there is continuous growth in certain sectors. There is recovery in those areas that were most negatively impacted by the COVID, like tourism, like aviation. So we can see a reawakening in these sectors, and that's good news for a lot of our members, because it then means that we can begin to rebound and move forward. Q4 remains a very critical part. Historically, it's always a good period in terms of advertising investment, in terms of marketing communications investment, because most companies are looking to ensure that they meet and deliver on the annual growth numbers on one part, also ensuring that we recover from all of the challenges of the 2020. So looking at quarter four, there's a whole lot of positivity and optimism, and the numbers from a projection standpoint are looking much, much better.
So are you thinking maybe media consumption patterns may have changed because of the lockdowns and COVID? It's a two-in-one question, or would you also say that ad spends are back to pre-COVID levels?
So certainly media consumption habit is changing, even prior to now, with digital being the key driver and technology being the key platform for driving that growth. But during the COVID, certain sectors, right, experienced certain reduction in terms of total level and had negative impact. Okay, so but there's a recovery, right, and also because of the when there's a lockdown, obviously the consumption habit is more around indoor, right? So digital, so internet and TV, for example, experienced a lot of growth in this period. Online streaming, music streaming, movie streaming, and all of that. That was video game. So there's a lot of growth in this area. But now I think other sectors, like the out-of-home sectors, also like other non-traditional media areas are beginning to experience growth, because the lifestyle of the consumer, which drives media consumption, is now beginning to change, because people can now increasingly move around, and the limitations that the lockdown and the pandemic had is beginning to ease off to a very significant extent, not only in Nigeria, but even globally. So the numbers are looking much, much better.
We are looking at 2022 just ahead of us. It is September already, and some will say elections in 2023. Some would like to pull back spending because of the election. Do you think anything like that could happen? They might not want to get drowned in political advertising.
Okay, let's take a step back at historical data. Even prior to leading on to 2019 elections, we had significant drop in total annual advertising investment. That's 2017, 2018. But surprisingly in 2019, actually in 2018, prior to 2019 election, the number began to rise again. So looking at this history, the pre-election year actually experienced growth, right? So I think next year, 2022, is not going to be different. My assumption, and I think looking at the numbers and the projections from, for example, the Pricewaterhouse numbers for the next 5 years, is looking quite positive. The pre-election year will experience growth. I think also the recovery from the 2020 COVID, right? A lot of advertisers will continue to invest behind their brand, because the long-term growth, the long-term profitability is subject to support or investing behind the brand and growing the brand. And a lot of brands have not been able to do that in the last 1 year to 18 months. So there will be continuous investment. In 2020, we envisage that there will be a growth, continuous growth from the numbers. From an economic standpoint, we can see that the GDP numbers are looking quite good. Even though still a little bit behind the 8% projected, where currently, as of quarter two, the GDP growth is at about 5.01% compared to a -6% same period last year. So the economic numbers are looking quite positive, and we believe this will be sustained into next year. And also, prior to 2023 elections, advertisers will recognize the need to invest, right, to invest behind their brand, to grow their route to market, to invest in area of distribution and all of that, just to make sure that even in 2023, if there is now a need to pull back because of the political noise in that period, at least there would have been enough forward investment and putting the brands in the heart and the mind of the consumer.
So is there any deliberate thing that needs to be done to change Nigeria's advertising, maybe the space or the expenditure at this time, that can boost that expenditure? Is there any deliberate, what can be done?
Absolutely. I think the first step, contrary to what a lot of people think, every advertiser likes to support their brand.
True.
They would love to grow the brand in terms of the equity, in terms of the brand value. That's why they're in business, because when you grow your, the awareness, the either spontaneous or general awareness, and you invest behind availability in terms of distribution, retail, and all of that, then your brand can grow. So advertisers want to. Now, the biggest limitation or constraint is the economy. So if the economy continues to move forward, continues to grow, and beyond just the GDP growth and beyond that, if actually we begin to see improvement in the numbers in terms of the poverty numbers, Nigeria being the poverty capital of the world, unfortunately, and money begins to get into the hand, into the pocket of the consumer, then there will be, then the consumer will buy, then the brands will grow. So the first thing to ensuring that growth happens is fixing the economy, right? So government, positive numbers in terms of GDP, but that needs to now begin to get into the hand of the consumer. There is need for, when you look at the exchange rate, when you look at all the various fiscal policies, everything needs to be committed and focused at growing the economy as a whole. And when we're able to grow the economy, then certainly the advertising investment is going to grow. But within our own space, I think what we need to do is make sure that we continue to advise as consultants, our clients, to make the right investment, even within the context of the available resources. So making sure we're leveraging the technology, we're leveraging the growth path in terms of where the consumer wants to be, the impact of technology, the need to grow the financial sector, the need to invest behind e-commerce, the need to look at what is happening in fintech, and how that impacts on everyday business. So advising them based on the data, based on where the consumer is going, so that they make the right advertising or marketing decision to sustain the growth and to deliver more from an ROI perspective. So in terms of return on investment, to make sure that the advertiser gets a big buck for their money. So when this happens, then certainly there will be growth.
Almost finally, is government doing enough to help the media and entertainment business? What do you think about that?
Government can always do a lot more. It was very interesting to see the executive governor of Lagos State at a very recent
awards.
Marketing awards, right? And he spoke about the need to, and the readiness and willingness of the Lagos State government to invest, right? To look at areas to support. And so just as government has also done in recent past, investing and supporting the creative industry. And we can see the growth from Nollywood to entertainment. Some of this self-driven, but government needs to continue to have the right laws and policies in place that will allow that growth. We all know what happened recently regarding Twitter, the ban. Hopefully we get out of that. So it's around government making the right decisions that support the growth of the industry. I think that's one area where as MIPAN and as HAS, as all the sectoral groups represented under the HASG, the heads of advertising sectoral groups body, we're working consciously with government. We're open to engaging the Minister for Information, for example, the APCON registrar, and every key government body on how we can collaboratively move the industry forward. And on our part, also making sure that our members abide by the rules and the guidelines, So I think with all of this, so it's not only what government can do, but it's also working with the government to identify this growth opportunity. One key area which I would like to call out, though, is regarding investment in data. So audience measurement, for example, which is one of the ways in which we measure right, who is consuming our advertising.
And that was my next question, that the plan changes in that at all, and how will it affect us like TVC?
Yeah, so we need government to support, because there's some level of investment with the digitization and the DSO and all that is happening. There's a whole lot of opportunity for growth for content owners, the station owners, the content owners, to be able to see the right value, who is watching, where they're watching, how, you know, all of that information needs to come out of what the audience measurement is going to be able to deliver. So government recently appointed a company to help to deliver or to migrate from the current measurement system to a much more modern, a much more progressive audience measurement system. So we like that step, but it's also ensuring that there are right committees in place to make sure that this happens properly, that the right markets and the right investment on a sustainable basis is put behind this initiative of APCON and the NBC in terms of audience measurement, so that we roll this out quickly. And this will ensure that the advertiser can measure and see how their investment is being deployed. The stations can also charge the right, you know, the right value, okay, for all the content that they are delivering, okay, and the content owners also can then appropriately price the creativity and innovation, so it can only be growth for everybody when measurement is at play, and I think the entire industry will be in a good place to celebrate this. So it will not only touch on just us as the agency in terms of having the tools and the data to measure what we do, but it will also affect even the stations, the content owners and producers and everybody, and we can all move forward positively.
We've actually run out of time, but in 1 minute, any plans for Q4, as in maybe events and all of that?
Oh yeah, as MIPAN, one key area for us is capacity building and development. So we've got training for our people upcoming. We've got also what we call the Patrons Day. It is an event where all of our 35 strong members all come together with their families and staff, and we, beyond pitching and contesting for businesses and, you know, engaging the client, we want to have a time to relax and have a great time to bond as practitioners, as colleagues. And we also have what we call the President's Dinner. It's a maiden edition. It's just an opportunity for us to also continue to bond with a larger industry. So we'll be looking to inviting key media partners, advertisers, content owners, and even government as well. So we sit together, have a great time, and begin to also have conversations about moving the industry forward. And the final event for us also is we also have some collaborative activities with OAN, Outdoor Advertising Association of Nigeria. It is more of a health walk, so just to drive fitness and that whole spirit of being active and being healthy. So those are three of the key activities that we have for the latter part of the year. And finally, we've got a business outlook session, because every December we begin to look at the 2020 numbers and the economy to say, what do we need to do, which area do we need to begin to resource or develop or put our energy as we look at the pre-election year of 2020.
It's nice talking to you, Mr. Femi Adelusi, President of Media Independent Practitioners Association of Nigeria. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. We really appreciate this.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
All right, then.